Welcome to Building While Flying, a Sasha Group podcast where we interview business leaders about how they tackle challenges, stay resilient, and navigate ever-changing skies. Welcome to Building While Flying. My guest today is Bruce Smith, CEO and founder of Hydrow, the live outdoor reality rower. As a US national team rowing coach and head of the Charles Regatta winner himself, he coached the US lightweight 8 to a bronze medal in the 2015 World Rowing Championships and is the former executive director of community rowing in Boston, where he sought to increase access to the sport. With a continued passion for the mental and physical benefits of rowing, plus the empathy and community it creates, Bruce's goal for Hydrow is to make a positive impact through the sport of rowing, allowing people to feel more connected to one another and live healthier lives on a daily basis.
The interview's over. That was great.
Done it all. I'm super excited to talk to you about this. You obviously have a long history with rowing yourself, having coached, having won many races. I also love rowing. I think it's such a great way of getting good exercise, and I kind of discovered it. Like, don't do it often enough, but there's now these gyms that you can go to where you can do kind of like intense rowing training sessions, and I just think it's awesome. Such a well-rounded workout without the impact.
It's one of those things that is totally the best kept secret in overall whole health, because you have 7 major muscle groups in your body. And for example, if you were to hop on your bicycle to come to work, you would actively load 2 out of the 7 major muscle groups. However, if you rode to work, you would use 6 out of 7 of the major muscle groups, and your workout for the day would be done. You'd feel great. You would have turned on all your back muscles, your posterior chain. You'd sit up straighter. You'd have more cavity space for your organs to do their work. It is a tremendous human activity, and undervalued until we started telling the story. I think, we have some precursors. CrossFit has been preaching the gospel of rowing, and so is Orange Theory. But there's big changes coming in the world.
Yeah. So talk a bit about that. Like you came from a background of actually being a rower, and you ran a health hydro in Boston. But what actually tipped you over into deciding to create a piece of tech that would enable people to row successfully?
Truthfully, I was. So rowing machines are, everywhere, and they've been around for a long time. The first Y opened in London in 1866. And I'm pretty sure there was a rowing machine there, although I don't know for sure.
That and some old school tennis.
Yeah, exactly. Tennis. Right. Real tennis. And I was really worried that this indoor fitness craze that Peloton really kicked off would separate the rowing machine from what's great about rowing, which is being out on the water and moving in synchronicity with other human beings. And rowing has this amazing rich history, but also like one of the reasons that the Charles River is less polluted than other rivers is because rowers have been on it every single day. We've been staring at the water. So when there's a pollution, event, rowers were the first to report it, and they started a movement to get it cleaned up. So it's attaching all of those rowing machines around the world to the cultures and the culture and the value of what happens actually out on the water. And I wanted to make sure that those two things got linked together. So we were kind of in this mad dash. We started just at the very, very end of 2017 to get ahead of the rest of the fitness industry and connect what happens in your home gym to what happens out on the water.
I love that. So the actual product itself, like your coaching features river scenes. So even though you're at home rowing, you feel like you're on the water.
Yeah. So the way the Hydrow works is we actually patented this. So we're broadcasting live from waterways around the world, and we broadcast that directly to the Hydrow in your living room. So when you sit down on the Hydrow every morning, there's some great new workout waiting for you. You can be in Switzerland, out on Lake Lucerne. You can be on the Charles River. You can be in Miami. And it really is this immersive watery environment. And it's kind of like, it never occurred to rowers to do that because, ergometer, it's the Greek for work. It's meant as a work machine, not a fun machine. And Hydrow is meant as a fun machine.
And also, I mean, you've experienced this yourself. There's something about being on the water that adds, if you can recreate or even just give a suggestion of that experience in the home, I think it must be, actually, there's almost that calming, therapeutic aspect to it in addition to doing the exercise.
Yeah, and there's this book called Blue Mind, and when you think about whole health, what do you really need? And I think, they teach this in business school now. Like it's you need loving relationships, you need enough sleep, you need a healthy diet, you need exercise, and you need nature. And you really need, like you can't get around it. You actually need to have that experience of water and trees. And that is one of the pillars of feeling good as a human. And there are enough studies now that we know that if you can't get outside at all, a digital experience of water and trees is better than no experience. So it is one of those pillars of whole health. It also like stuff happens, like things are changing all the time. And we really, so if it's rainy one day, like we go out anyway, or if somebody falls in the water, like we don't like cut that part. They fell in the water. So there's this kind of surprise and delight part of being in the natural world that is, it makes studios very dull,
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you compare that with the kind of the way in which you would typically imagine, like, like the Peloton trainer or whatever, it's all about the individual, like the kind of charisma that person brings. And in this case, it's the trainer, but it's also, like you said, this kind of full immersive environment. Deep double immersive if they fall in.
And really soaking wet. Yeah. So if you think about the relationships that people establish, like charisma is an amazing quality, and it's not like we deny charisma. Our athletes are super engaging, but 3 characters is way more interesting than 2. And the most important person in the Hydrow story is the person, our member at home. And then we have athletes that are super fun and really engaging and share their journey with you. But then we also have the whole natural world. And so there are 3 characters, and every single time you sit down, you're involved in a triangle, not a straight line. It's way, way more dimensional and fascinating.
Oh, how wonderful. There's a few threads to what you're talking about that I think here. And I'd love to hear you talk about that kind of bigger mission that sits behind Hydrow, because I think it is clearly shaping how you are setting the course for the company. So there's the human element and the environment element. Talk a bit about that overarching mission.
If we could think of something better to do with our time to try and make the world a slightly better place in 2030 or 2040 or 2050, I really believe everybody at Hydrow would quit their current job and go do that. But we believe so strongly that if people feel better themselves, they can, if they feel physically better because they've done a great, like turning on your whole body feels good and makes you, that endorphin high is a real thing. So if you feel better from exercise, you'll be kinder to yourself. If you can be a little bit kinder to yourself, you also can be kinder to the people around you. The other thing that rowing does is it really highlights the fact that other people are really important. Working out, moving a boat down the waterway requires, the work of many people. And especially if you're in a 8-person boat, like it really highlights just how crucial teamwork is. So if we can highlight the fact that human beings really do depend on each other, it's that opportunity to get in and, hopefully influence people so that they feel better, they trust each other more, and they make better decisions for themselves and for society as a whole. And we bring attention where we think it is needed the most, which is really on the safety and quality of our water. And it's a worldwide issue and something that touches every single person literally every day.
I love that. That's firstly just a fantastic mission you can get behind, but and that also that everyone will relate to, and just such a clear, intuitive through line to kind of the medium in which this whole thing is operating.
No, and it's actually like it's one of those things where all the vectors line up really well.
Yeah,
and we are really passionate about it, and I think the feedback we get is that it works. That it's actually real. You can go through the community chats and all the different social forums that we have, and people report feeling these great feelings and supporting each other and paying attention to water. It is really great.
Yes, I love it. Oh my gosh, I immediately want to be on the river.
Right.
So it's been a pretty fast and furious journey so far. I know I'd love to hear a little bit about the kind of those heady moments as you were gunning towards first launch, because you were building a piece of hardware, you were also thinking about the software, and then there's the whole content piece too. What were some of those early ripples, waves, capsizes. I'm going to just play with
right.
momentum
Yeah,
now.
no, I know. It's right. We're all in this together, all in the same boat. Rising tide lifts all. Yeah. You know what? No, I haven't heard those before. That's so great. Oh my God, that's a new one. Yeah. Velocity is a skill and a superpower. And so we didn't sequentially build the hardware and then build the software to go onto the hardware and then build the content to fill it out. We built all three things at the same time. So they were separate little enterprises all running concurrently, and we didn't know if they would actually work together. But, you know, I've spent my whole life in the rowing world. And the other thing, we just got I was very, very, very lucky in the people that I hired early who wanted to get involved. They believed in the mission, and they're extremely good at their job, much better at things than I'll ever be at anything. And so the first employee, Chris Paul, is our chief technology officer, and he's a legend in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and then the Northeast in the United States. And he kind of set the tone and just made it possible to have these three legs of the stool getting built literally without knowing that there was going to be a seat to join them. But it all, you know, it worked, and we delivered our first prototypes 6 months almost to the day after we had our first meeting to do the design. Yeah.
That is a speedy turnaround when you're talking
for hardware.
Yeah,
I know.
For
yeah,
hardware,
and like a really big piece of aluminum, milled out of like it was $42,000.
That actually needs to function flawlessly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it really didn't. You know, like the first day we had our investor. You know, they were coming to look at it, so it better work, and it took a lot of flying around the world and so on and so forth, but we got it done. And then we made our first deliveries to customers within 12 months. And those were early machines off the line. And then we were off to the races, and it was all before the pandemic. And honestly, if we hadn't gone so quickly, I don't know where we'd be today.
Right. And I'm assuming the pandemic was there a decent spike in at home? I mean, everyone was buying Pelotons and mirrors left, right, and center. So were you a part of that?
It was definitely, we would get these kind of extraordinary notes from like nurses and doctors who would be at the hospital all day and come home, and they would get on their Hydrow, and then they would write us this note saying, this is the thing that's kept me sane through this really extraordinarily hard period. So it was great to have something that people needed. And then there's the cognitive disconnect of like the world's falling apart and our business is going gangbusters. And look at all the Hydrows we've sold. So it was this kind of, extraordinary moment where we were delivering something people needed. We were also being, we experienced this extraordinary success. And we just, we were curious as the pandemic sort of changed. I don't know if it's wound down, but it's definitely changed. If we would continue to see the same kind of growth, and we've set sales records in September and October and November of 2021.
Congratulations.
Not by a little bit, by a lot. Yeah, it's so much fun.
And being featured on the Not Possible to Buy Oprah's
I know, list. Right? This isn't one of those terrible insider deals where you pay somebody some money and they tell you you're great. This is actually Oprah, most trusted woman in America, saying that it is great. And, it's so flattering. And it was it was a dream. We talked about it a lot. And it didn't happen 2 years ago, and it didn't happen last year, and then it finally happened this year, and it's so exciting.
The culmination of all that work. That's wonderful.
Right. Yeah, really good.
So were there any moments like early on when you kind of had some signals, no doubt, from stories like Peloton that there was an appetite for this? But were there moments where you were like, oh my gosh, we've made a mistake. This isn't going to work, or
Every single investor that I talked to, with the exception of 3, said rowing's a niche and nobody will ever do it. Like it's everybody.
Interesting.
It was this thing, rowing. Nobody's ever advertised rowing.
No,
nobody's ever tried to market rowing. And when people think rowing, they think tall, lanky person from Harvard. And
I think it definitely in this country especially has quite a sort of
it's got this overhang.
Elitist feel.
Yeah. And we blow that up completely.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons we're so excited about Kevin Hart. But he is the opposite of a tall, lanky guy from Harvard. He's a short guy. He's black,
let's talk about
and
Kevin.
He's from Philly.
For sure,
I know, yeah. He's so... I didn't appreciate when I started the company that the people at the very, very top of the industry are not puppets of their agents or anything else. They are super, super creative people. And just talking with Kevin the first time, he got a Hydrow and he used it a lot. And so we set up a conversation, and he had like 19 great ideas right off the bat.
Right.
So the whole Hydrow High campaign, Kevin gets to take credit for really pushing us to communicate what you get out of Hydrow if you've never rowed before.
Let's talk about that. So you've got a first big push go-to-market. Well, you've done some go-to-market exercises.
This is the first big one.
First big advertising communications push, the Hydrow High campaign.
Right.
Kevin Hart's idea, so it all goes to the dogs, and we know who to blame. But tell us about that one.
It was an amazing journey. We've worked with a lot of creative people. Our friends over at Mojo Supermarket also are very involved in the campaign. But Kevin's input was, stop trying to explain to me all of the benefits. Mm-hmm. How do I feel? How do people relate to this? And he said that repeatedly to me over many conversations. And that was our brief, communicate to everybody. And rowing really does have this kind of impenetrability about it. And the fact that previously the most popular machine was actually called an ergometer, like it's
so true. Like
it's made to be alienating, it's literally
inaccessible.
Yeah. Right. If you have to ask, you're not invited. And so coming up with 2 words that have alliteration in them, no less, I think it's like seminal for everything. I'm really excited about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You had a wobble though about that one, didn't you? Like early on.
So the campaign was going live. We were doing a full page announcement in the New York Times, and Friday before the Sunday, I started to freak out, and then I didn't sleep all Friday night, and then I literally was on the verge of dialing the phone to say, please cancel, please cancel, please cancel. And my wife talked me down, and we let it go. And then
because of the risk,
happened.
The kind of drug association.
What if everybody was like, wait, I'm so triggered. I'm a recovering addict. What if all of these things? But people understand really clearly that it's exercise
and the natural high,
and it's runner's high, rower's high, and it's real and substantial. And I'm really proud of it. But it was one of those moments where it's like, yikes.
What would you say? We talk a lot with clients about what a company's competitive advantage is, whether it's and the network effect or the ability to build a full ecosystem around something or speed to market. What would you say the Hydrow competitive advantage is for you guys?
We have something that money cannot buy. And it's just unobtainium, and it's the most valuable thing in the world. And it's a mission to do good in the world. And it's not grounded in some greenwashing. It's not grounded in something that I picked up last year. It's grounded in not just my lifetime history, but everybody at the company. And it even extends, to my son and my great-great uncle who built rowing shells for the community and Harvard College, I hate to say, in the 1860s and 70s in Cambridge. So it's we have this kind of authentic story that I think authenticity is the thing that is in shortest supply other than time in the world. And
most valued and hardest to find.
Yeah. And we have it in spades more than any other brand that I can possibly think of. So I believe we have a real claim to be in tens of millions of people's homes over the next 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades.
That was going to be my next question. What does the world look like if you succeed on the Hydrow side, but also the mission side?
Yeah. So in 2030, there will be tens of millions of people who cherish their 20 or 30 minutes on their Hydrow every morning or every afternoon or evening. It's something they share with their friends. It's something they look forward to. And then through the rest of the day, all of those people feel great. They are kinder to each other, kinder to their families and their coworkers. They make better decisions. And I hope that we will also have an increasing awareness of the role that we all play in water quality. And there's this, I think the last time we talked, you mentioned, stretchy clothes are really, every time you put some Lycra in the wash, you're washing untold numbers of molecules into the water supply that are eventually really going to cause, serious problems for everybody. So getting ahead of those problems and bringing awareness so that we can make better decisions is it's not something we're going to solve in a year or 10 years, but it's something that we have to solve. And I hope that Hydrow plays a key role with that. Every single time that you do a workout on Hydrow, you're working towards a donation towards water.org, which provides access to safe water for people who don't have it. So we make a donation for every 25 workouts that you do. We provide safe access to safe water for one person. So we've done
I love that.
tens and tens of thousands of donations at this point. And it's really, I think, tying things explicitly together like that, like why not? You have to work out. Let's get the most out of it.
Yeah, I there's something so interesting in you're tying effort to outcome in a way that isn't just about you and your own personal fitness, but you see a connection to the outer world as well. It's a really nice thing to reinforce.
I just nodded, but we're on a podcast, so I'll say yes.
What would you say personally? You've been through quite an arc with this, with the kind of common thread being rowing and the water. What have you learned about yourself as a business leader throughout this?
I've learned that I have a lot to learn, and that I'm not very good at a whole lot of things, and that I fail almost constantly. But I've had extraordinarily good luck, and with a really great team, we can do some cool stuff. I don't know. I mean, not to the humble brag. It's more. I'm good at speed and I'm good at strategy, and Hydrow reflects that, I think. And then the rest of the stuff we figure out. And I've been really, really lucky in having some extraordinary people who are unbelievably talented at getting things done. And they have extraordinary capacity for detail, and they make, beautiful things out of extraordinary materials. And it's so much fun to work with them. It's really inspiring.
There was something you said when we chatted before, which struck me, and as I thought was a really interesting perspective, which is when you think about helping people with their fitness, you're trying to see what it is that they need versus sort of reskin or repurpose what everybody else is doing. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, there's this whole thing, everybody selling goals. And the truth is that goals in fitness anyway are completely misplaced. So I'm an elite coach. Nothing is more goal oriented than the Olympics. It's on a 4-year quad, and it is extremely goal oriented. Yeah. And there are no rules other than win, and that's super fun. And I'm extremely competitive, and it couldn't be more fun. But for life, it's just the opposite. What you need is to be happy right now. And it's not only about winning. Yeah, no, right. Well, or, you can win at being happy right now. Hydrow is really aimed at being there every single day. And we don't promise you 6-pack abs. We promise that we will try and help you be happier and more present, more engaged today. And I think that's a crucial message, and something that, these companies that say hey, buy this program or sign up for a series of classes that get you to a place. 99% of the people never get to the place. So they buy this thing, it doesn't work. And then they expect that they will buy another thing, and they failed. And it's just this message of constant failure. And I've been through it. I've done P90X twice and loved it. I love P90X and I love Tony Horton, but at the end of it, I didn't look like Tony, and much as I wanted to. So we're extremely focused on helping people feel good today. That's where the Hydrow High, feel good today.
Yeah. I want that Hydrow High. I have one last question for you, which is our classic building while flying question, which I think you partially answered when you were sort of talking about what you've learned about yourself. But when we talk about the metaphor of building while flying, it's important when you're building while flying to keep calm under pressure, and when your back's up against the wall, to have a series of steps or a process to help make those tough decisions. So when you're in that crunch point and you need to make a tough decision for your business, what's your go-to? What's your approach to that?
People have an extraordinary cognitive load on their brains, and the decision making that you make when you're fresh is higher quality. And a lot of people think that decisions are you can make infinite numbers of good decisions. It's not true. Decisions have different qualities attached to them. and coming at it with a little bit of time and extra perspective is super valuable.
I could not agree more. The whole the knee-jerk decision versus sleeping on it. The number of times when I'm so grateful to put the email in the draft folder and come back to it later.
1,000%. Yeah.
Wise words. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Building While Flying. It's been wonderful to hear about the plans and the successes and the vision of Hydrow.
Thank you very much. Great conversation.